Okay, today we're doing something a little bit different. I'm going back to something I wrote in 2021. It was an article for Medium, which at the time of this recording was almost precisely 5 years ago, and asking the question, does what I wrote still stand the test of time? And more importantly, what do I know now that I didn't know then? Because let me tell you, 2021 me was really out here giving advice. And honestly, some of it definitely still holds up. So welcome to Get Messy, the mindset space for creatives who are wanting to build sustainable and successful careers without losing their sanity. I'm Maddie, professional performer of over a decade, currently in grad school to become a therapist, and I'm the friend who's never going to BS you about what it takes to actually stay in the game. Back in 2021, I wrote an article for Medium. I was very into writing Medium articles. I think I was on like a journey where it was like, I'm going to do 3 a week. And I made it like my whole identity for that period of time. And this particular article was called 7 Things to Give Up If You Want to Have a Healthier Mindset. It got picked up by a publication on Medium and people read it. And then I kind of forgot about it the way you forget about a journal entry from like a few years ago. And then you randomly stumble upon that journal and you're like, whoa, me 5 years ago was feeling all sorts of feelings. So I recently went back and read it. I had some feelings about it. Some of it I was like, yeah, 2021 me, you were onto something. And some of it I read and thought, girl, you had no idea what was coming for you and how much harder you were going to have to learn each of these lessons. And 1 or 2 of them I would reframe differently now. So today we're doing a little time travel. We're going to go through all 7. So number 1, give up trusting your first thought. 2021 me wrote about a friend who didn't hear back from a potential client and spent an entire week convinced that she had done something wrong, when in reality, the person she was hoping to hear back from was just dealing with a personal crisis. And the lesson was, your first thought is usually driven by negative bias, not truth, because it's trying to protect you. It's trying to be like, okay, wow, I'm like assessing the situation. What do I need to protect myself right now? So pause. You need to find the facts. Look for other possible explanations before you invest in the story that your brain invented, especially the first story that your brain just served up to you on a silver platter. So how does this one hold up? I think it completely does. And if anything, I would double down on this one. What I would add now is that the first thought isn't just about external situations. It's also about how we talk to ourselves, about our own abilities and our own worthiness. I'm always, when thoughts pop up, being like, let me challenge my first thought. Where's the evidence in this first thought? Challenge accepted. First thought. Let's see how much validity or lack of validity there is. So the first thought is typically the one that says, I'm not good enough for this room, or they probably just don't like me, or so-and-so is mad at me. These thoughts deserve scrutiny. Investigate before you convict yourself of whatever your first thought is trying to convict you of. Number 2, give up absolutes. Words like never, only, must, every. It's always been done this way. I could never do that. This is the only path forward. 2021 me said absolutes keep you small and trap you in a cage. Does this hold up? Yeah, I personally believe that most absolutes usually have very, very little, if any, validity to them. There's just so much nuance in life and your career and your friendships and your thoughts. I heard a different version of this recently where what the article was expressing was that giving up on all absolutes can bleed into someone having no standards or boundaries. And the example that was used was, I'll never stay in a relationship that makes me feel small. And they were talking about how this is a useful absolute. And to me, I'm like, well, I have some questions about the relationship. I want to launch into a whole case study because do I think people should stay in a relationship that makes them feel small? No. Like, of course, I do not love that for you. Not one bit. I feel like if you are stuck in that situation, there's possibly a version of your life that is unlived because of you feeling this way. But I also don't know all the details or all the semantics of your relationship. So I don't know. I think this is a personal one where the difference is whether the absolute is keeping you safe and grounded in your values or whether it's keeping you scared and stuck. If you feel like an absolute protects you, sure, keep them. Absolutes that limit your imagination about what's possible, no. Gotta go right now. Number 3, give up engaging with people who disempower you. The classic, if you hang out with 5 awesome people, you'll be the 6th. Or if you hang out with 5 not so great people, you're going to be the 6th not so great person. 2021 me was pretty ruthless about this one. I pretty much said, lose their number, move on, protect your energy at all costs. Does this hold up? Mostly. But I think obviously we just talked about how nuanced life is, how nuanced relationships are. I would definitely be more nuanced here now because sometimes the person disempowering disempowering you isn't someone you can just cut off. Maybe it's a family member who you love or a coworker that you are working with. You cannot just like up and leave your job or tell your boss to fire that person because they disempower you. Or maybe it's a collaborator you're contractually tied to, and just lose their number is not always realistic, even if we would love for it to be. So what I would say is, yes, absolutely try to minimize time with that person who drains you or disempowers you whenever you can, or be really, really specific about the boundaries of how you spend time with this person and how you choose to engage with this person. But also work on building yourself up enough that not everyone has the power to disempower you. Your self-worth can't be entirely dependent on being surrounded by only the right people all the time. That's not always within your control, but your relationship with yourself is. This takes a tremendous amount of work. I feel like I've gone to many therapy sessions and many sessions with my mindset coach, Amy Austin, to figure out how to empower myself and how to work with disempowering situations or people around me. So it takes a lot of work, but I think it is worth it, because can you imagine like you get cast on this awesome TV show and it goes for 10 seasons and like the person who plays your partner, you fucking hate? Like things like that will happen, and you cannot let, as frustrating and annoying as it is, you will only be doing a disservice to yourself and your dream and your job if you let all of those feelings seep in to how you're feeling. So how can you build yourself up and empower you to deal with situations that disempower you? Number 4, give up living on a timeline. If it hasn't happened by the time I'm 30 or 40 or 50, this is the section where 2021 me said, screw that timeline, focus on how something feels, not when it happens. Does this one hold up? Yeah, it just hits differently now. And honestly, I think I needed to live more life to really feel this in my bones now that I'm in my early 30s versus my late 20s writing this, because in 2021, I could write it logically, but I watched people now, 5 years later, abandon things they love because they decided they were too late, or it was never going to happen for them, or on a certain timeline, things didn't occur. So it was time to pivot. And I've had my own moments of looking around and thinking, this wasn't supposed to look like this by now. And on the other side of that, I've seen, including in my own life, how fast and unexpectedly things can shift. So timelines are illusions that we torture ourselves with. The thing either happens or it doesn't. And the age at which it happens has almost nothing to do with whether it was worth going after the thing. So I'm keeping this one. I'm going to like tattoo it onto my brain. Number 5, give up compromising too much. 2021 me talked about how overcompromising leads to resentment of others and of yourself. Know your boundaries, communicate them. Don't say yes when you mean no. How does it hold up? It does. It does hold up, but here's what I'll add. This one is really about knowing your own values clearly enough that you know when you're compromising them versus when you're just being flexible. A lot of people, especially people pleasers, especially creatives who are taught to be collaborative and easy to work with, they don't realize how much they're over compromising until they're completely hollowed out by resentment. So the real work here is not just saying no more, it's getting clear on what a yes or no actually even means to you. What are you actually okay with? What are you tolerating? Is what you're saying yes or no to, how does that align with your values? Are you needing to say yes to just support someone who's in really deep need of your support? And it does, maybe it's going to cost you for this moment in time to overcompromise, but the gift that you're giving that person is worth it. Like, all of these are different things that you need to think through when making a decision to say yes or no. And how is that going to potentially overcompromise the things that you need to do for yourself? In the last 5 years since I've written this, I am much clearer on my values and my dreams and goals and my energy, and the energy that I can spend on other people versus the energy that I can spend on myself, and being able to tap into myself before deciding the ways in which I'm going to give myself has been a game changer. And I'm Enneagram 2 3, and this is really, really hard to do. Is one of my motivators in life is helping other people, supporting other people. It's something that is so deeply tied to the core of who I am. But there have been many times in my life where I compromised a lot and I prioritized other people's needs over my own. And some of the times in my life that needed to happen because of helping someone through health issues or like traumatic situations or things like that, but I think there's a time in my life where it was actually to keep the spotlight off of myself. Over-compromising and focusing on someone else's stuff and committing myself to someone else's things was a distraction from me having to work on myself on the way I knew I really needed to lock in on my dreams during that season of life. And especially as my dreams were getting bigger, that scared me. And so it was easier to support someone else in building their dreams, and making that compromise left me almost too exhausted to work on my own, which at the time I think I was doing almost like protect myself, but like, how fucking sad. My dreams are my dreams. Like, just because I'm committing myself to someone else's dreams, they're still in my heart and in my soul. They're not going anywhere. So I share that to just illuminate the fact that sometimes over compromising is not just like, oh, and I don't have kids or pets or anything like that. I truly have the ability in most situations to say yes or no. Again, outside of a couple situations that I would describe them as like all hands on deck situations, where someone's health or a family member comes before any and all things. Outside of situations like that, I have like memories coming up right now where I'm like, ooh, those compromises that you made to other people was to help you hide from the work that you really had to do on yourself and on your own dreams. So that's my caveat or my thought to explore there. Number 6, give up wanting to look smart. Ask the question, adopt a growth mindset, stop performing intelligence, and start actually building it. Does this one hold up? 100%. I don't really have much to add, except I think this one has mostly gotten easier for me. There's a couple ways in which it's gotten harder. The easier ways are because I've genuinely gotten more comfortable saying, I don't know. Tell me more. I'm a lover of learning, and it's been fun and easy to just be like, okay, like I'm here to learn. So like ask the question. There's been times like in adult conversation, someone has said a word and I've been like, what does that mean? And you know what? I've never had someone look at me and be like, she's an idiot. Mostly they're like excited to explain or teach, and it just builds curiosity in the conversation. So I've only ever personally seen it be a positive thing. Harder in some ways because the more visible you become in your work, the more pressure there sometimes is to have the answer. So to be the expert on what it is that you say you do. So I have felt that before in voiceover, to be like, oh, you've been doing this for 10 years and you've done it at a really high level. You must know all these random nuances and intricacies of the career or the craft. And I've felt the time to like, oh, I should be the expert in this space. And that can quietly resurrect the need to like look smart in a way that I thought that I had outgrown. So I watch for it, and sometimes it comes back around in new disguises, but I think I can like see through it a little bit better. This also, when I first started grad school last semester, in the beginning, I found myself wanting to look like I knew what I was talking about. And then I was like, wait, I'm literally in school to learn this shit. Like, no one here has ever done this before. We're all here for the first time. No one knows. Like, we might know bits and pieces of this, but like we do not know all of what they're teaching us. So my future clients don't care about like what my grade is or like how smart I looked to like my peers in my class. They care that I asked the question and that I learned more, and that I used this space as a playground to learn and grow and stretch myself and try stuff that I was not good at, but I became good at because I wasn't afraid of looking stupid or not looking smart. I was there to learn and to grow. And what this made me think of is back in the day when I was in acting classes, flailing around in a black box theater on Santa Monica Boulevard in Los Angeles. If you know, you know. And you just make a fool of yourself and you stretch yourself and do things that you never thought you would do. And that, to me, I find the spaces, whether I'm in grad school, whether I'm at a conference, whatever it may be, to kind of give myself like the mental reminder, like, you're in a black box theater, like you're allowed to flail around on the floor. Number 7, give up constantly pushing through. This one was about rest, about how our minds, like our bodies, need recovery days, how trying to force yourself through exhaustion creates a spiral that undoes all of the mindset work that you've done. Does this hold up? This might be the one I feel the most strongly about now, and also the one I think has gotten more complicated in the cultural conversation since 2021. Because on one hand, rest is absolutely not laziness. Pause is not failure. Your best work will not come from a burned out brain. I said this then, and I say this to myself even louder now. But here's what I want to add. And it's hard for me to even say, because I feel like, again, I've needed to learn a lot more peace within myself and learn my own energy limits and learn how important it is to give back and replenish my cup through rest. I feel weird even saying this, but I feel like some people have started to use it as a way to avoid discomfort. And I think these are two totally different things. Rest is restorative, avoidance is discomfort in like a cozy sweater. And the question to ask yourself is, am I genuinely depleted and in need of recovery? Or hopefully you didn't even get to the point of depletion. You are baking in and building recovery into your ecosystem of your creative career? Or are you scared? And the thought of pushing through and doing the thing that you know you need to do to get to the next level of personal or professional of growth is freaking scary, and you're calling it burnout. Both are valid, but they need different responses. One needs rest and the other needs a gentle push and maybe a conversation with someone you trust. It's why I go to therapy. It's why I have a mindset coach. It's why I have a couple very, very good friends that we will send voice memos back and forth, or why I know my husband will never BS me, or my mom, or other people. Like, this might be where you need to kind of pull in some reinforcement to know, do I need to pause? What do I need to do to restore myself right now? Or I actually need a little bit of a push and I'm scared. And who do I need around me to help support me through that push? So does the 2021 article stand the test of time? Yeah, I think mostly it does. And I'm actually kind of proud of 2021-year-old me. She was working through some things, and I used writing as my way to try to understand them, which is kind of exactly what this podcast is too. But what's really changed, obviously, is the depth. In 2021, I could name these things, but I feel like by 2025 and in 2025, I'm living these things. The timeline stuff, pushing through versus knowing when to rest, the compromising of myself and my dreams and my own needs for someone else's that I care about. I've had the years where I've ignored my own advice and paid for it greatly. And now these aren't just ideas that I believe, but they're things that I've tested, broken, rebuilt, and honestly earned through putting in the time. That's the thing about mindset work. You don't learn it once. You keep learning it at new levels and new circumstances with higher stakes and more scar tissue. And that is not a failure of the original lesson. That is just what growth actually looks like. I always think about with confidence, right? Like, I've worked with some clients before who've been like, oh, I started to finally feel confident in XYZ, and now this new thing happened, or I'm at a bigger level, or I got a bigger opportunity, and now like I'm not feeling confident anymore. And it's like, no, confidence is not like a thing that you arrive at. It's a state of being. And so much of the work in our mindset is that too. And we have the tools, but our state of being is fluid and flexible. And so we always need to be doing the work to be able to tap in to our toolbox and use the tools we have at our disposal, because life will keep lifing. And it is up to us to keep showing up to do the work. So what I'd love for you to do is go back and look at something you wrote or you believed about yourself or your mindset just a few years ago. Is the thing that you wrote, does it still hold? Did you outgrow it? Did you earn it harder than you expected? I would genuinely love to know how you're comparing to a past version of yourself and seeing in what ways have you grown and what ways have you stayed the same, and like, does what you were feeling and thinking at the time still make sense to the person that you are today? And if this episode resonated, please share it with someone who's in the middle of their own mindset era, because sometimes the most helpful thing is knowing someone else has been there too. I'm rooting for you today and always. You're the real hero if you've made it this far. Thanks so much for hanging out today, and check out the show notes for any resources or cool info mentioned in today's episode, or places to follow along if you want to hang out some more. I'm rooting for you today and always. Stay messy.